I own the Ridgid R451871 table saw. It's a good table saw, but finding insert plates that actually work with it is absolutely ridiculous. This is the standard plate that comes with the saw. This is the Dado stack insert plate I ordered directly from Ridgid. When it arrived, I installed it in my saw and noticed it doesn't line up at all. So I'm done buying plates. Now we're going to make one. So here's how to make a zero clearance or Dado stack out of PVC for less than $3. Now I'm not a plumber, so I don't know what pipes do, but I had a ton of this PVC just hanging around my basement. So I ripped a piece out. Unrelated, I seem to have flooding issues in my basement whenever someone takes a shower. Thankfully, this piece came with a sticker. It's Schedule 40 and about 2 foot. I broke out the smallest jigsaw blade I had and cut one groove right through the pipe. Only one side of it though. Then I brought it over to the chop saw to cut off a piece slightly bigger than I needed. Make sure your spouse isn't home and set the kitchen oven to 350 degrees. Once that's in, set a timer for 5 minutes. When this comes out of the oven, it's going to be hot, and we need to smash it between 2 pieces of lumber. So make sure to have all of your clamps laid out and all your wood ready to go. You don't have a lot of time to screw around with this. But the main goal here is to get this as flat as humanly possible. Once all your clamps are applied, set another timer for 15 minutes. That's all it takes. Apply one long piece of double-sided tape to the original plate that came with your saw and stick it to the flat part of the PVC. Then bring it over to the bandsaw to cut it out as close as you can. This will save you tons of time in sanding later. I pulled the original plate off before I did the ends. They have a little metal tab that was getting in the way and I didn't want to nick my blade. Now the super fun part, sanding everything flush. I started with the edges to make sure everything fit correctly. Then I brought it down to the correct thickness. The inside of PVC has a epoxy, I believe, on the inside. Don't quote me on that. So I only sanded the outside of the pipe, keeping as much of that epoxy in place because it's slippery and will help the wood move over it nicely. But because I only sanded on one side, it was no longer flat. So I threw it back into the oven to repeat the process as we did before. 350 degrees for 5 minutes, and then cooled in the clamps for 15. I left this part in so you don't screw up like I did. All I needed to do was turn the saw on and raise the blade, and for the life of me I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. I left the riving knife in place. Nobody said I was smart. Take yours out before you go to this step. Look at that. It looks much better. I then put the knife back in so that I could mark how far I needed to cut so we could make a slot to go around it. Then, using those marks, I finished cutting everything out on the jigsaw. It fits perfectly. The last thing we need to do is shore up the underneath of the plate. It is pretty rigid on its own, but better safe than sorry. I first added 2 blocks to the ends to stop the plate from moving forward and backwards. And then 1 long strip down the middle. I used spare pieces of mahogany, but literally any wood will do. That's about it. For $3, I have a zero clearance insert plate that actually fits, unlike anything that Ridgid would sell me. I just need to repeat the process for my Dado stack. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you'd like plans to any of my other projects, they are available on my website below. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until then, we'll see you next time.